Alright, hello, welcome to this video. I'm sure most of you are back at school now, and those of you just starting the A-level course for AQA, we're going to be running through the syllabus and trying to get approximately in line with what you'll be learning at school, but obviously I'm not at school, so I don't know exactly when you're doing stuff, but it should fall at a similar point, and by the time exams come around, all the topics will be up on here and ready to revise. This one is just learning some mathematical terms that we need to be familiar with on the syllabus. So first of all, we're going to start off with an expression, and an expression is when we have a couple of terms together but just by itself. So an expression is a finite collection of terms, so here's 3, that's a finite number, it doesn't go on forever, terminates at some point, and this gives us an opportunity to define a term. So this is a term, this is a term, and this is a term. And a term is a number or a variable or a number multiplied by a variable separated by these plus and minus signs. I'm not going to do an underline on that because that means something different, but anyway. So each of these are terms, and a finite collection of terms is an expression. Okay. Now we brought up a word there that we also need to know, which is a variable. Usually we write x, y, but we can write z, m, n, p, a, b, c. The point is, a variable is a placeholder in an equation or an expression of something unknown. Right? So a variable could also be called an unknown. It's a placeholder, and what we mean by that is we write that there while we're working with it until we find out what it is, okay, or what it represents. So that's all a variable is really. Next, on a similar line to expressions, we're going to look at an equation. And an equation is just two expressions that are known to have the same value. Okay, so that is an equation. It means for a particular x and y, so x and y here are just placeholders, they're just, right, there's actually, because this is just one equation, there's lots of solutions for x and y, so, but for some set of numbers x and y, this is true, alright, and we might want to solve for x and y, we need an equation to do so in this place, but yeah, that's pretty much it. And this brings us on to an identity. And an identity is very similar to an equation, but with an identity we write this triple equal sign, and an identity, we're not trying to solve for x and y, we're not trying to figure out which values satisfy an equation. We have something written down, so one that you'll learn. Is equal to 1. Alright. And that's not supposed to be a B, that's supposed to be another A. Alright. And this is true for all A. Alright, so something's an identity if it's essentially an equation that's true for all variables, or for the variable that we put in, so in this case a, for all values of that across a certain range. So it could still be an identity if it's only true for a equal to 1 to 10, but it just means that that's something we can remember, and if we see, I don't know, sine squared x plus cos squared x, we know that's equal to 1. That's an identity. It doesn't matter, we don't have to find x, we don't have to solve for that. That's equal to 1. Okay. Now, the final couple of things we want to look at are an index. If we have a number raised to a power, that power is called the index. Okay, so a few more examples. It's the power in particular that is the index. The index can take lots of different forms. It could be 4 to the power of negative 5 over 3. Still an index. Alright, that one's a pretty simple definition. A couple of other things we have to look at. Constants and coefficients. So if we have an x to the n plus an minus 1 x to the n minus 1, we keep going like that in that pattern to the a2 x squared plus a1 x plus a0. Well, an is a coefficient, and so is an minus 1, so is a2, so is a3, a4, you know, you get the point. And so is a1, and you'd say an's the x n coefficient, an minus 1 is the x n minus 1 coefficient, a2 is the x squared coefficient, a1 is the x coefficient, etc. And this a0 on its own, this number, is a constant. Okay, so those are a couple of pretty simple definitions as well. And finally, we have a function. So there's a more formal definition of a function, which concerns a little bit more to do with the properties of a function and what has to happen when the function acts on numbers and stuff. But for now, all we need to know is that we can have a function f of x that takes an input. So we put something into the function, and that gives us an output. In another video, we're going to look at domain and range of functions, look at finding the inverse of functions and stuff like that, one-to-one functions. But in this video, we're just looking at definitions, and that is the definition we've got. Just check if I've missed anything. No, I think that's most of the terms they want you to be familiar with. I'm sure a few more will pop up during the year. These ones come up commonly, so you want to know what they are, because you know it'd be the worst thing if some question asks, find the x to the power of 5 coefficient, and you don't know what the coefficient means, even though that's quite an easy question. You just look for, say you had an expression and it had a plus 4x to the 5. Well, the x to the 5 coefficient is 4. So you can actually pick up quite a few marks just from remembering all these little definitions. They might ask you these individually, or you just might need to know it to be able to understand the question. That's it for this video. Let me know how you get along with the syllabus and where you are, whether you're studying stats, mechanics, pure maths. I can maybe refine this series to try and get more in line with people's education. But if you did enjoy this video, please like and subscribe.